Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears to some of the travails and trepidations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And I'm coming to you straight out of the Midwest, out of St. Louis, and we're having a lot of problems in our city. We're down about 500 police officers. The mayor has recently put a freeze on hiring for the city, and there was recently a civil judgment against the St. Louis City Police where an undercover officer got beat up by his own colleagues at a protest back in 2017 where he was awarded $23.5 million. So there's a lot of things going on, but just when you think that that isn't enough, we have issues going on at our juvenile detention center where juveniles have escaped. But this one in particular is about a child youth specialist who was charged after giving teens at the juvenile detention center THC-infused candy at the St. Louis Detention Center. So here's the story. The teens were taken to a hospital for treatment on Saturday and were later returned to the center, court official says. A child youth specialist is facing charges after several teens being held at the St. Louis Juvenile Detention Center were taken to the hospital after they appeared to be under the influence of substances, according to court officials. Patrick Harris, 23, who is a child youth specialist, was charged with 2 counts of first-degree endangering the welfare of a child after he distributed, listen to this, gummy candies infused with THC to 2 teenagers at the center on April the 6th. So he intentionally gave them THC-laced gummies. According to court documents, Mr. Harris is a child youth specialist who is employed at the juvenile detention facility. The 2 teens who were under the age of 17 were under his supervision at the time of the incident. The 2 teens were taken to the hospital for treatment after experiencing health issues, including unresponsiveness, being incoherent, increased heart rate, and being unbalanced, a probable cause statement said. The teens were later returned to the center. The St. Louis Circuit Court spokesman Joel Currier said St. Louis Family Court and the St. Louis Police are investigating after learning of the April 6th incident at the facility on Enright Avenue. Court officials immediately notified police and an investigation is ongoing, Currier said last week. Mr. Harris confessed to being in possession of the gummy candy and distributing them inside the facility, court documents said. Surveillance video also shows where Harris is in possession of the THC-laced gummies. An at-large warrant has been issued for his arrest as he is not in custody as of Monday evening. He will be held on a no bond issued, a no bond warrant. That just recently happened. What is going on in our world today where you have, and look at the hypocrisy and the dichotomy in his title. He's a child youth specialist where he is there as a specialist to help these kids that are in juvenile custody, foster them to become positive citizens, regain their stability as teenagers, and eventually leave the juvenile detention center and possibly or probably become a law-abiding citizen. However, he is breaking the law while he's a juvenile court-appointed official, a child youth specialist. So him as a child youth specialist where he's supposed to lead by example in a positive manner for these juveniles, help them therapeutically, psychologically, physically, to try to garner some positive strength to move forward in their life in a righteous direction. However, he is actually participating in all of the negative issues that are garnered on these young people that are in juvenile custody, and he's helping to perpetuate a crime and distribute illicit drugs inside the juvenile center, which is basically a juvenile jail, which is basically where he is going to end up. Mental illness is a real thing. I don't think this was a casual decision. I think him being 23 years old, is there a certain level of immaturity that is taking place? Presumably, yes. I kind of associate these issues, and I've done several videos on correctional officers, male and female, having inappropriate relationships with prisoners, which is against the law. They're in a superior position. The inmates are in an inferior position, and they are being bribed and castigated into these relationships with correctional officers. And correctional officers 99% of the time get caught through surveillance video. There are cameras all throughout these jails and prisons. Correctional officers are kind of similar to like a teacher and a police officer when dealing with juveniles in custody or even adult inmates. And those, when you cross that line with a correctional officer and an inmate in any inappropriate manner that's not positive and moving in a forward direction, then they all get in trouble. You're seeing a high propensity. This is very similar with this gentleman, Patrick Harris, being 23. I'm seeing a high uptick with teachers that are in their early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, married, female teachers that are having inappropriate relationships with preteen and teenage boys. There's been a huge uptick in that. You're seeing it on national news, on social media platforms, and you're seeing a high uptick of correctional officers or officials in law enforcement in these jails and prisons having inappropriate relationships also. Even though this was not a sexual misconduct issue, it still is an issue that was illegal, dealing with THC gummies that this gentleman is distributing to minors. There are going to be all kinds of charges against Mr. Harris when they finally catch up with him. It's an unfortunate circumstance. Does his youth have anything to do with this poor decision that he's made? I don't know. Should the guise of the age requirement be a little bit higher for a person to be a little bit more mature? 23 is very close to 16 and 17 chronologically, but where is that person at mentally? This was a very, very poor decision. It was found on surveillance cameras, and now this person who was working in the juvenile jail is going to probably go to an adult jail. Look at the dichotomy and the hypocrisy in that. Also, there's been issues in the St. Louis Juvenile Court in the city. In the last couple months ago, they had a juvenile who escaped, who was wanted, who was in custody for a murder charge that he committed last October. And this gentleman was loose for almost 2 months before they finally caught up and detained him. Yes, the same place an escaped alleged teenage murderer had gotten loose, and through the state laws for underage individuals, they could not give his name or description of him when it was on the news. So he walked around free and hiding for almost 2 months, and he was in their custody for a murder charge. There are many failed things that are taking place at our juvenile detention center, also at our downtown St. Louis jail detention center. We've had at least 9 mysterious deaths of inmates in the last 2 years. Some of them are saying possibly fentanyl, But there's a lot of stuff that's going on in our jail system that needs to be fixed.